do I, baby, indeed I do. I need you, oh, my do I, baby.
Welcome to the first episode of Did I Get What I Paid For? Back in the Stone Age, I used to write for this fanzine called Collector Times. Don't bother looking for it online, unfortunately the webmaster took it down. Now, my most popular segment was Did I Get What I Paid For? Where I took maybe 5 or 6 trade paperbacks off my huge backlog of unread stuff and reviewed them. And when I gave them a good review, it was full of praise and purple prose and everything you'd expect when you're really excited about something. And when I didn't like it, I could be downright mean. I said that X-Men the manga was the type of book you called the Ray Bradbury Memorial Fire Department on. And I called Alex Ross's Justice really nice art on fancy paper, which is the only reason I didn't flush it down the toilet. I thought it would clog it up. Anyways, and so I was thinking of something to do with this YouTube channel. And I owned all my old material from Collector Times. I thought, there's nothing stopping me from taking that same basic concept and turning it into a show for my channel, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I think what will set this sequence apart from every other video blog out there is that I plan to take this beyond the simple concept of good versus bad movies and into the realm of, is it worth your time and the money it would cost to see this legally? It is entirely possible for a movie that is complete and utter trash to get a positive result under my system. And it's also possible for a true masterpiece to get a no, sorry. Hypothetically, I could buy Rob Schneider's The Animal at someone's garage sale for $0.25. In theory, it could get a good grade. On the other hand, if somebody brought me a $50 copy of The Big Lebowski, which I have to admit is probably one of my 2 all-time favorite movies, it would get a failing grade. Why? Because no one pays $50 for DVDs anymore. To do the clips without fear of having my video taken down, I had to do something in the public domain. And, by the rules of this series, I would also have to use something I actually owned a DVD copy of. And this one is the bottom of the barrel. I know a few other people have reviewed this one online already, but I couldn't resist. That's right, we're doing Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla. So what the hell is this movie anyway? Well, I'll tell you. From 1948 to 1958, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis were considered a top-notch music and comedy duo. They weren't funny, so I can't really explain why they were popular. They had a radio show, they made TV appearances, they made movies, and once they had proven box office success, there started to be a long list of imitators. It's a lot like Rule 34 of the internet, only before the internet and without the porn. Oh, I'm sure there's Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin parody porn out there. But if you know of any, please do not send it to me. I don't want to see it. Nobody wants to see it. One of these pairs of imitators were Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo. Before I start this review proper, I want to get into the history of how this movie got to be public domain in the first place. Because it's damn insane. Duke Mitchell had been a pretty successful lounge singer. He was the guy you got when you couldn't get Dean Martin. No, wait. That would be Sammy Davis Jr. Duke Mitchell was the guy you got when you couldn't get the guy you got when you couldn't get Dean Martin. No. He's the guy you got when you couldn't get the guy that you got when you couldn't get the guy that you got when you couldn't get Dean Martin. But it was a living. Sammy Petrillo had been a stand-up comic. His claim to fame was doing his Jerry Lewis impression. It was so good that when the actual Martin and Lewis needed a guy to play their, quote, baby in a comedy sketch on TV, they got Petrillo. The truly ironic thing is, in the few moments of this movie where Petrello isn't doing his Jerry Lewis shtick, are the few moments where he was almost funny. Somehow, some way, Petrello and Mitchell met. And from there, they decided, we could be two third-rate solo acts, or we could do one second-rate act, and it would still be more profitable for both of them. Now enter film producer Jack Broder. His studio did three things. The first thing that they're most known for was purchasing the redistribution rights to the old Universal monster movies so that they could be run at drive-ins or revival theaters. You see, back in those days, they didn't have VCRs or DVDs or Blu-rays and streaming services. The only way you could see a really old movie was to wait for them to come back to theaters, or hope they came on TV. Now, most of the revival theaters and drive-ins were cheaper tickets, so it's not like now when Fathom Events will charge you $15 to go see the Goonies. Another thing Broder would do was bring in foreign movies, things with Mexican wrestlers, and redub them. Broder did original content. Occasionally, if he could do it cheap and fast and efficient. And most of these movies were either ripping off an existing fad or just out-and-out rip-offs of other popular movies. Think a late 1940s, early 1950s version of The Asylum, and you wouldn't be that far off. Anyway, his talent scout went to see Mitchell and Petrello's act. He thought they were the worst act he'd ever seen, but he knew that Broder wanted his version of Martin Lewis, so these were just the guys they needed. He signed them to a 3-movie deal, just had butter. Now here's where the story gets a little blurry. Some people say that Broder had signed Bela Lugosi to a 2 or 3 picture deal the year before, and nothing had come from it. And the contract was going to expire, which would mean they'd have to pay Bela Lugosi for doing nothing. Others say that Broder had made so much reissuing those Universal movies that when he found out Lugosi was in dire straits, he just gave him a job because he could, which would mean that Jack Broder might have been the only Hollywood executive in history to have a soul. Who knew? Here's the story of how Ramona the Chimp, a really big-name movie star, got to be in this picture. Well, apparently, Broder asked his 10-year-old son what would make a kid want to see his movie that starred the crazy guy from Dracula and a dollar store Martin Lewis. His son, who I have to remind you was 10 years old, said, "A monkey." And, well, it turned out a monkey was too expensive. However, the chimp from the Tarzan movies was dying for work. I mean really, literally dying for work. As in, the animal handlers would not give her any food if she didn't find work, sort of dying. So, it all worked out. And once they had their version of Martin and Lewis in the form of Mitchell and Petrello, once they had Bela Lugosi, and they had their Brooklyn Gorilla, who cared about things like plot, script, or anything else? What could possibly go wrong? As I said, this movie had a weird route to the public domain. It was made in 1952, which meant it should have come into public domain in or around 1980. However, it was effectively public domain much earlier than that. Jack Broder Productions, aka Real Art Inc., got out of the original content game shortly after this movie was released. In fact, it might have been because of this movie that they stopped making their own pictures. Why? Because Jerry Lewis found out about it, and he was not happy about it. He threatened Broder with a lawsuit, which at the time probably boosted its sales. Why? Because Broder, being the businessman that he was, marketed it as the movie Hollywood did not want you to see. There is no evidence that Jerry Lewis actually filed this lawsuit, but the specter of him doing so haunted the production and distribution of this movie. A few years after it was made, Jack Broder sold the TV rights to all of his movies. And perhaps because his entire library was almost nothing but crap, no one really wanted to buy them. They're like, the afternoon matinees on Channel 23 or things like that would pick them up, but they never really made any money. They shut down entirely. Imported movies, reissued movies, everything in 1966. The family of William Bodine, the director, could have reclaimed the movie rights in 1976, but they would only be protected for another 4 years unless he refiled again. And it was Bela Lugosi Meets the Brooklyn Gorilla, for crying out loud. Who would actually want to own the rights to that? The real reason this movie was unknown until about 15 years ago was at the height of the DVD craze. Companies like Good Times Entertainment, Mill Creek, and every other company doing those 50 sci-fi classics for $10 packs that you see at, like Walmart, Target, occasionally CVS or 7-Eleven, all stuffed it on there. Why? Because the movie was public domain, and they had space to fill. My copy has only Bela Lugosi Meets the Brooklyn Gorilla, and that's okay. It doesn't affect the result this time. So let's get on with reviewing the movie itself, shall we? It starts with Mitchell and Petrello falling out of a plane and washing up on this deserted island. Sort of like the pilot of Lost. Okay, maybe a little better than the pilot of Lost. In spite of being on a South Pacific island, most of the natives are white people. So with that guy right there, Mr. Potato Head for a head, it's kind of hard to tell. Nona, the chief's beautiful daughter, falls for Duke Mitchell right away. They take Mitchell and Petrello to the heart of the village, where they get to watch the villagers dance in these stereotypical South Pacific Islander and African stereotypes you see in a lot of Hollywood movies. If it were 1936, during the show, Petrello complains that Duke's got a pretty lady on his arm, but he's got no companionship. Nona, being the nice girl that she is, says, "Hey, you might like my little sister Salome." And this being the 50s, Sammy's thinking, little sister probably looks just like her. But nope. And because it's the 50s, the first thing Sammy does is fat shame her. This only makes her more sexually aggressive. And the villagers realize, wait a minute, Mitchell and Petrello claimed that they were entertainers. Why are we performing for them? We should make them sing for their supper. And Mitchell and Petrello are more than happy to do this. Unfortunately for us, Sammy is the first one to take the stage. But not voluntarily, it's because, it's because Salome was chasing him and she ripped his shirt off. He has no choice but to do his act while still topless.
Oh, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Showtime at the Royal Tahitian. And what a wonderful show we have lined up for you tonight. As you know, this is my first visit to your beautiful island of Cola-Cola, and I want to tell you that the climate is wonderful. It really makes a guy feel full of Pepsi. Get it? Cola, Pepsi? Pepsi, Cola? Gentlemen of the jury, I'd like to ask the prisoner one question. Have you ever been up before Judge Smith? I don't know. What time does Judge Smith get up? You want to hear a funny one? On the way over to the island, the fella stopped me at a coconut tree, and he said I hadn't had a bite for 3 days. Do you know what I did? I bit him.
Most of the jokes do not land. Nona seems to think a few of them are funny, but you can almost hear the crickets. And you can see Salome looking at him with this sort of take-off-your-pants look. But then comes Mitchell's turn, and we get another great Hollywood trope Music is the universal language. And I'll admit, the song is catchy. If he had a better song, or just a better movie to perform it in, he might be a much better remembered performer today. Here, let's have a listen.
Okay, fellas, let's wrap it up.
You. Now you. You. Do I want you? Oh, my, do I? Baby, indeed I do. Do I need you? Oh, my, do I? Baby, of course I do. You know that I'm the one who found you. That's why I'm always hanging around you. Do I love you? Oh, but do I? Baby, indeed I do.
Oh, yeah. Salome think you're beautiful.
Do I want you? Oh, but do I, baby? Indeed I do. Do I need you? Oh, my do I, baby? Of course I do. You know that I'm the one who found you. That's why I'm always hanging around you. Do I love you? Oh, my do I, baby? Indeed I do. Baby, indeed I do. Baby, 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 of course I do. 'Cause baby, yes sir, baby. 'Cause baby, indeed I do.
And that, folks, was the best part of the movie. I'm sorry, it is. Nona shows that she's a cheap date. All it takes is a few conversations and a song, and she's sucking face with Duke Mitchell. Ugh. Meanwhile, Sammy is still being chased Wile E. Coyote style by Salome. That's not right, unless, of course, Wile E. Coyote secretly wanted to hump the Roadrunner. Nona tells Duke about a scientist on the island named Dr. Zaber. And he might know a way to get them home. They decide to go see him, and yep, it's Bela Lugosi. Cough, cough, mad scientist. He's in love with Nona too, and is kind of passive-aggressive about it. In spite of this, he shows them around his lab anyway. Duke seems to have no idea what Zaber is talking about. Even though he's been portrayed as an idiot so far, Sammy must have like a PhD in biology and advanced genetics and whatever, because he not only understands it, he gives Zaber information that can help him perfect his experiment in re-evolution. Dr. Zaber thinks that Mitchell and Petrello might feel more comfortable staying at his evil lab slash castle. Castle slash evil lab. Than they would in a hut. So he offers to let them stay there. Duke decides to take Nona home. And we get another musical number. It serves no other purpose than to let the audience know what they should have realized at the beginning. Duke Mitchell is the best thing in this movie, and he knows it. You thought I'd say Lugosi was the best thing in this? You gotta be kidding me. This wasn't the Lugosi we're used to from Dracula or all those Columbia serials. No, this was the, for tax purposes, pay me in morphine Lugosi. While Duke is out doing that, Sammy has his own problems. He now has two beautiful women pursuing him. One, of course, being Salome, but the other is Ramona. Did I mention she's a chimp? Because yeah, she's a chimp. She's Dr. Zaber's test subject. Do you know how many guys would kill to be in that situation? I mean, not between Salome and a chimp, but, just having two women chase him around like that. A few days later, Zaber, Mitchell, and Petrillo were having dinner with the village elders. Duke and Nona are getting kind of cozy. And Dr. Zaber doesn't like this one bit. Nona and Duke sneak off. Nona gives Duke this necklace, which is part of the island culture's engagement tradition. That's right, she went to Jared. Anyway, Dr. Zaber's henchman sees this. As soon as Duke takes Nona home, he captures Duke. Dr. Zaber goes back to his lab and starts doing experiments on Ramona. The result is that she goes from being a chimp to a gorilla, or at least a guy in a gorilla suit. And then Zaber comes up with a great idea. You know, exactly what you do when the woman you're in love with falls for someone else. You reverse the polarity of the neutron flow on your thingamajiggy gizmo gadget and turn him into a gorilla. You know, like normal people do. Unfortunately, no one sees this. Which means when everyone's going around looking for Duke, they don't find him. Eventually, Sammy figures it out. How do you ask? Well, because Duke the gorilla starts to sing. That's right, Duke the gorilla. He starts doing the whole, do I love you, do I, baby? And at this point, the movie just loses it. I mean, I was willing to buy some of the other crap they were flinging at us, but this just didn't stick to the wall. They confront Dr. Zaber to get him to turn Duke back, but to no avail. And Ramona's still running around. And then everyone gets into this long, weird chase sequence. And people get confused over who's Duke and who's Ramona. At this point, there was no logical way to wrap the movie up in the amount of time they had left. Either that, or Roger Corman was shooting 6 movies that month, and he needed a lab set. It was 1952, just saying. Duke and Nona are reunited. She puts the necklace on him, and that's a good thing. Or not. Dr. Zaber was hiding in the bushes with a hunting rifle. He takes aim and is about to fire on Duke when good old Sammy jumps to the rescue. And the audience gets what they wanted all along, the death of Sammy Petrillo. Nope, it was all Sammy's dream. And everyone in the movie, from Duke to Nona, to the Chief, to Mr. Potato Head for a head, to Ramona, to Bela Lugosi, to Salome, were all just members of the cast of the USO tour. And of course, they have to ruin an already crappy ending with a Wizard of Oz reference. What I don't get is, if this was Sammy's dream, why did Duke get the girl? Sex dreams are 100% wish fulfillment. Which means that if it's Sammy's dream, he should be the one knocking boots with Nona. Unless he's really into voyeurism, in which case I hate this movie more than I already did. Hate is too strong a word. In a strange way, I kind of like it. Yes, the acting is atrocious. The script is terrible. The limited effects, well, there are no effects. The cinematography looks like it could have been done by a middle schooler. But other than that, I have actually riffed this movie with my friends on several occasions. It is almost ideal for that. There is one redeeming thing about the dream ending tag of this movie. Remember how earlier I complained that the first thing Sammy did when he saw Salome was fat shame her? Well, it turns out Sammy and the real Salome are sort of an item. Which I think, if you buy the dream ending, means that deep down he's got a repressed attraction to more full-figured women. Speaking of the dream ending, one more thing occurs to me. If it's Sammy's dream, why did he die? Dream analysis experts say that Death in a dream can mean a lot of things. The classical interpretation is an orgasm. But when he's defending a chimp that used to be Duke Mitchell, sorry about that. Let me catch my breath for a minute. The second possibility is exercising inner demons. Who you are now, your perception of yourself, it has to die in order to become who you want to be. Freud said that sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Perhaps this death is just meaningless background noise. Do you want to know what I think? Of course you don't. But this is my video, so I'm going to tell you anyway. If you don't like it, make your own response video. I don't care, it's a free country. I think on top of being a chubby chaser, Sammy Petrello has a messiah complex. And he's still a vaudevillian at heart. Hence, the over-the-top, grandiose way in which he dies. I'm not a Christian, but if I were Jesus, I'd be insulted by this. It's one thing for Spock, E.T., Optimus Prime, Ashton the Lion, Bilbo Baggins, and others to step into that sort of Christ role. I mean, they actually do stuff, to earn it. I think the line stops way before you get to Sammy Petrello. One take and no processing, folks. How do I feel about this movie? You care to tell them, Mr. Mitchell?
You, I love you, oh, but do I, baby, indeed I do.
And that might be true. By the great Kazoo, it is true. I do love this movie. But that's not the real question. Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla is bad in every conceivable way. It's not as bad as, say, Robo-Vampire, or Pocket Ninjas, or Joshua in the Promised Land. I haven't seen a movie this aggressively unfunny in my life. Oh wait, I forgot about that movie. But I'll say one thing good about Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla on that front. I didn't see Mitchell and Petrello on the cover of the DVD and think, I like these two guys together in another movie. Go in with really high expectations and come out really, really disappointed. I got this DVD at a Friends of the Library sales free items box. That's right, the same place that would sell you Cliffhanger for 25 cents couldn't find any takers for this one. This movie made me want to throw away my library card. The sad thing is, this might have been one of my original copies. I used to buy this movie in bulk at dollar stores. Why? When a friend gave me a bad birthday present, it ended up in their goodie bag. If they didn't get me anything for Christmas, it ended up in their stocking. Sort of like the modern equivalent of getting coal. This DVD cost the low, low price of absolutely free. But did I get what I paid for? Drum roll, please. Bum ba dum bum 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 bum. Do you want to tell him, Mr. Petrello?
No.
There you have it. The conclusion of my first episode of Did I Get What I Paid For? Did you enjoy this video? Hit like or subscribe. Or leave a comment. Anything helps. I'll soon be setting up a Patreon account. And I'll be announcing what the bonuses will be for that. Until then, see you next time.
Hey, Stan! Look! I'm over here! Well, here's another nice mess you've gotten me into.